unfortunately, the plant for metallocenes and the plant for the existing normal catalyst, which is the Ziegler-Natta catalyst, don't quite match up easily. So many a times, the people using the metallocene, they had to jerry-rig their plants to be able to accommodate the metallocene. And with time, what happened? With time, what happened is that the usual thing that happens in the industry, people started moving around, and people started merging, and so you had the cross licensing of all these different technologies, and then you don't even want to get into that scenario because you don't know who owns what and who owns which portion of it, because the employee now is part of two companies. And then to make matters a little more complicated, many of these companies started having joint ventures.
Sure.
So, to give you an example, you have Univation, which is a joint venture of Dow and ExxonMobil have been on. So, all this put together, the major players, in the metallocene business are still like people like Exxon and Mobil and Chemtura and Basel, which is basically a combination of BASF and Shell, which they form. So I'm sure all these information you've already been aware of. But so these things started merging, and these companies, basically, which I mentioned, they are mostly companies that manufacture and license their catalyst and technology. Then, as time went...
Just a second, though. What does intellectual property typically look like here? Is it process patents? I mean, in a lot of this stuff, it feels like intellectual property is probably more trade secret than process patent. But I'm curious, what is it that people try and get paper on, and how do they try and defend it in this market? I'm used to it in other more sort of device markets, but in this, it feels a little bit different in terms of what's actually defensible.
Yeah. You see, there again, there are initially when they started this business, it was all what you call product patents. The metallocene by itself, and those were the most important of the whole thing, because a product composition patent is very, very valuable because they now cover all the different ligands that you can put around the metal. So,
well, you block out a lot of potential people if you get pretty broad claims on a product composition.
Exactly. So that's why most of the people in the industry say the patent by itself is not very important. It's the claims.
Sure.
That you make. Yeah. And I'm sure everybody knows that, and I'm not telling you something that is new. But so what happens is how much your claim can protect your patent is what. So what happened is, so the people who started in the beginning, they started getting more and more product patents, and then as time went on, the other people started varying the product in the process, and they started getting more process patents. So. So what happens now is, as time went on, some of these patents ran out of their, time period, and so third-party people started offering the metallocenes.
Sure.
And in many cases, the license or the original patent holder would prefer to work with somebody who has the capacity to do this, and then offer the same thing as a licensor to the licensing. So third-party people started coming in. So one of the persons who was quite, good in the third-party part of the manufacturing was Albemarle.
Yeah.
They are one of the big, metallocene producers. And then came in, after that you had in the U.S. you had Boulder Scientific, also. And the reason why some of these people started getting more and more involved in this thing is because some of the companies had people move back and forth and so on and so forth, and so they started aligning themselves with somebody with whom they had prior relationships.
Well, and I would guess that that's the case. I would guess in a lot of these cases that there's a small fraternity of 5 or 10 of you guys that studied at the same 3 university labs that kind of had an interest in this stuff. Yeah. And then if I'm gonna go do something in the metallocene, I'm gonna go find you or 4 people like you, and that's the set of people that I'm likely to look to do the synthesis.
Right. Exactly. And
regardless